Okay, second time trying to record this because Seven's not here, so as stupid as it sounds, I'm having to figure all this out pretty much for the first time. Because Seven is not here, we have Memory as a special guest. Thank you for being here, Memory.
Welcome.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
I am Memory, Eden's sister.
And the reason why I wanted to have Memory on is because I wanted to talk about one of the things that we get asked a lot as homeschooled kids, or kids who have been homeschooled, is how do you make friends, or is it hard to make friends? And I don't know if you can agree, Memory, but I'm a little sick of that question. But anyways, I wanted to talk about that today and kind of address that for a lot of the people out there who haven't been homeschooled or wonder what it's been like, or what it was like for us, and then specifically for you, Memory. Because I've heard you talk a lot about like friendships recently.
Yeah.
So maybe one of the first things I'll ask you is, do you like that you were homeschooled?
It's really it's not something that I can say like yes or no to, because it's definitely been a mix. Like growing up, like it's always changing, and I'm always feeling a different way about it in a different time period in my life. And I've also I think when I was younger, I really didn't want to be homeschooled. Like from the ages of 7 to 10, around that time, I hated being homeschooled.
Why?
Well, I think it was because I felt frustrated that it wasn't very easy to like fit in. I felt like I was like missing out from something, that like a lot of the kids that I knew, or like when you see in movies, like I was missing out from something that like is everywhere. And that was really frustrating. I think as I've gotten older though, I've come to appreciate it a lot more. And it's also like the grass is always greener on the other side. Like I have friends that hate public school, and they're like, you are so lucky. Yeah, exactly.
I was gonna say.
But I don't know. I am also like a really social person, and I really I get a lot of energy from being around people. So I think that was like really hard, because also I know like some people who were homeschooled are like, oh yeah, it was so easy to make friends. Like that is just a cliche, but I feel like at least I definitely lived the cliche where it was really hard for me to make friends, because not only did I not go to any sort of school, I didn't really have a sports group that I went to, or any sort of club. I wasn't put in a place where there's just a ton of kids my age around me. And not to say that kids in school or public school don't struggle with making friends too, but from my perspective it was really hard. But yeah, I don't know.
Do you ever think about who you would be if you had gone to public school, or is that
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I do think about that, but I don't know. I think I would have enjoyed it. I think I would have hated a lot of it, because I don't know. It's really hard to know,
because it's not what you
experienced. I think I definitely would have enjoyed the social part of it. would not have enjoyed sitting 8 hours a day in classrooms.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just not really having like a life outside of school. I mean, not like from what I've noticed, like most of my friends who go to public school, more so when they were younger, like when I would ask them like, what did you do this week? And they'd just be like, school.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't know. But
all right. I guess I'm trying to think which question I want to ask. Do you like feel like you have a lack of friendships in your life, or do you feel like you have a good amount of friends that you're happy with? Or I don't know.
I don't know. I don't feel like there's any way for me to really gauge that, because I think I used to think I had more of a lack of friends, but then I've also had friends, like, and I think it's more about like quality over quantity. Like I've been in a stage where I've actually had like a good amount, but I always felt like I was putting a lot of effort and not receiving a ton.
Always? With all of your friendships?
A lot of them, not always, but.
What is so if you feel like, I'm putting in a lot of effort into this friendship and it feels like the other person isn't matching my effort, do you, like, is it still worth it for you to keep that friendship, or have you, like, brought it up in the friendship? Like,
it depends on what I'm getting out of the friendship, because just because someone isn't, like, putting effort, like, that's still, I don't know. No one has to be interested. Like, no one has to put effort in. But if if I'm putting more effort in than they're putting in, that's my fault too. Like, that's my choice. I feel like in the past I have like held a lot of resentment when I've like put in a lot of effort and the other person hasn't. But I've also realized that like I still do it and I still put in the effort, and it's also my like responsibility to let them know, like,
I wish you would put more or match my effort.
A lot of times people aren't able to, or they don't want to. And that is like, it sucks to like say that or to realize that. But it's like, there's so many people in the world, and there's a lot of people you're going to click with and a lot of people that you're not going to. I don't know. It's also really hard to like sit down with someone and like have that conversation.
Yeah.
Because it feels like you're like, I don't know.
Yeah. Do you feel like, okay, let me think. How do I want to phrase this? Oh, also, the way this podcast works, I mean, I'm interviewing you, so I'm going to be posing most of the questions, but you can also ask me questions if you want to, even though I feel like that's a little weird. But one of the things that seems to happen to us a lot is people be surprised that we're friends with each other as like siblings. And I'm not just talking about me and Memory, I'm talking about, like all of my siblings. And
so me and you, like out of all of our siblings, I feel like have had, at least for me, I feel like as I've grown older, because you're 20.
I know.
And I'm 16.
Scary.
And I mean, when I was younger, I feel like I've seen this a lot, but like when there's like an older or younger sibling, the younger the younger sibling is, like the harder it is to kind of like close that gap or to like relate to each other. But then I feel like there's a certain age where like the older I've gotten, the more it feels like we're like the same age.
Yeah,
even if there's like an age gap.
I mean, you reach a certain age and your problems kind of like stay the same for the rest of your life in a weird way. Not like all of your problems, but you're like, you start to worry about money and work, and then you kind of worry about money and work for like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, because like a 10-year-old
and then
like
after that you still probably worry about money and work.
A 10-year-old and like a 16-year-old's problems are going to be, I feel like, a lot different. But then like a 16-year-old and like a 20-year-old,
yeah,
their problems are kind of similar or closer.
Ask him out?
Just kidding. Yep. No. Wait, what was the actual question?
Well, I mean, do you feel like it's weird for siblings to be best friends? Like, step outside of like, oh, this is my life and this is normal for me, and think about from another person's perspective.
I don't think so. I've met several people who are like, oh yeah, my siblings are my best friend. I just think it's weird because I don't think it's really normal.
Yeah.
Because I know like a lot of people that like hate their siblings, and that's also kind of a cliche where they're like, I can't stand my sister or my brother, and like that's something that I have appreciated with being homeschooled, is that being homeschooled has put me at home with my siblings like 90% of the times, which can be like kind of, I mean, there's pros and cons, but I do think that it put me in a place where like I didn't really have a choice but to like be friends or like seek some sort of friendship with my siblings.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that a lot of my friends who go to school, it's hard for them to be friends with their siblings because they don't need to be, because they already have like, it's like, why be friends with like your like
the people,
sister who's like 4 years apart from you versus like all the people your age you're seeing every day, probably even sometimes more often than your own sibling.
Yeah, that's honestly kind of weird to me. I think two things. One, for me, like friendships with siblings, I feel like are really important personally because, well, for us, like we've been through a lot of slightly abnormal experiences together, and I mean abnormal to like the average American person. I think I'd say that. So, but I feel like with your siblings, everybody, you know, like, I feel like parenting and the way you get parented has a big impact on who you are as a person. At least like for like the first half of your life, like the first 10 years you're getting traumatized, and then the next 10 years you're like realizing that you've been traumatized. Hopefully, I mean, that's kind of normal. I mean, hopefully you're not too traumatized.
No, but I feel like everybody like goes, because at least from what I've seen, every parent or every kid is like I hate my parents, like I hate the way they treat me, like they don't understand, and then they're like, I'm never gonna treat my kids that way. And then you like, and I'm not speaking from experience but from what I've seen from other people's experiences, and then they like grow up and they have like a kid and they realize like how hard, and like, but their parents like still like the stuff your parents like ingrain in you and like teach you are still really hard to get over, no matter how much like you hate it. Like some people are able to like take it and be like, I don't want to repeat this, but a lot of people, like the average person, is still going to end up repeating it because it's like ingrained in like your morals, and it's like it kind of sucks, but like most of the time you're still going to be somewhat traumatized in one way or another.
Anyways,
there's more
gotten a little
mild
bit
versions, but
off topic. Do you get lonely, and do you think that has to do with being homeschooled, or do you think that just has to do with like living in today's world? And then how do you deal with that?
I don't know. I don't think I get lonely.
You don't think you get lonely?
Well, no, I do get lonely, but like I don't think I get lonely like more than the average person, in my opinion. I do think maybe there was a time period like 2 years ago where I was like, man, like I don't know. I do like I actually, I don't really know. I don't think I get lonely more than the average person. I do have time periods where I do get lonely. for me, I have like the desired amount of people that I can call up and be like, do you want to hang out?
So do you feel like you have maxed out your...
No. I mean, like, I always get excited when, like, I meet a new person and, like, but I also feel like I have, like, enough people to entertain me. And also, like, I've noticed when, like, when I hang out with too many people, like, I'm like this, like, I feel super drained. I mean, it also depends on the person.
Right.
But it's kind of hard to find, like, a person where you, like, actually feel more, like, energized after hanging out with them than kind of drained. But it's also, like, depends on what you're doing. But I don't know. I just, like, I think the older I get, like, the more I kind of, like, value personal time.
Yeah,
but
me too.
And I also just think I have, like, I just have more ways to entertain myself. Like, when I was little, I mean, you don't really have anything to do but, like, play and make mud cakes and, like, I don't know, play outside, which I actually really miss. Just having, like, 3 things on my mind. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay, another topic that I want to talk about is losing friendships or ending friendship.
But yeah, I've never had to cut someone off. I think the older I get, the more I'll be able to do that. It is a scary thing to do, but also, like, and cutting someone off is, like, a harsh way to say it. But I think it's
like you just, like,
I think it's okay to, like, realize that, like, yeah, if someone isn't, like, if you're not enjoying someone's presence anymore, or maybe you realize that, like, you never really did, and they're not, like, giving you anything. That sounds, like, weird, but, like, if they're not adding value to your life, then it's, like, easier, like, for the long term to just, like, stop it, because you're just gonna keep on going through cycles, or you're just, like, drained, and, like, it doesn't, like, it's really hard to, like, I don't know, say it like that, like, or just cut someone off. But I don't know, I feel like for the long term it's beneficial, and I've seen this a lot with people around me. But like I said, I've never had to cut someone off. But I have seen it been done, and it's definitely, and I've also been affected by that. Like, not that someone's done it to me, but it's hard when, like, people around you can be friends with someone, and, like, or, like, groups of people, and you can, like, still be affected, like, emotionally by, I don't know, you, like, see a person 1 second and then, like, they're gone, and it's just, like, and you can see, like, the process or, like, the other side. But I have noticed that, like, a lot of times it's really beneficial, like, in the long term.
Yeah, it can be really messy and really confusing. It's almost like, I feel like a lot of relationships, I mean, it's weird because you're really used to having someone in your life, and then it's like, it's not like a drug, but it is, like, one of the things that I've had to be really careful, or I've been trying to be really aware about myself recently, is that, like, I feel like I use a lot of my relationships with people almost as, like, an escape from my real life. So then it does kind of become like a drug, but like a coping mechanism. So, like, if I don't want to work, or if I'm procrastinating on something. We've talked about procrastination a lot on this podcast, I feel like, already. But then I'll, make some sort of, like, it's actually really hard for me because right now I have a lot of people in my life. Mm-hmm. And I don't really know what to do because I don't know how to say no.
I mean, I don't know. I've noticed you feel guilty a lot when, like, you say yes and then you don't get your work done. I don't I've noticed, like, I find it really easy to say yes. I also find it kind of easy to say no. I don't know. I just think we're really different in that, like, I also don't get as much work done as you do, which is not, which I don't like, but.
Who's the best? Who's the gauge of that? That's not
well, I mean, like, if I want to get something done, I have very little self-control with, like, saying no to things, or, like, it's really hard for me to, like, stick with something.
Yeah.
Which I feel like could be worked on, but I also kind of, like, I really enjoy, like, spontaneous things, and I notice, like, you don't as much, and you've always been more, like, sensitive to, like, stopping something, or like schedules, and which, like, I feel like it's really nice because I think we balance each other out a lot.
Yeah. Talk about sibling friendships.
Yeah. And I think also you used to get, like, super annoyed, and you probably still do. I think it's, like, inevitable, and I do too with you, but like my room was, like, always messy. And, like, I never stuck with anything for very long or had that much self-discipline, and you always did. I also think it, like, I don't know, I've noticed you burn out a lot too, though, because like I think you need to take more breaks, or just, like, practice, like, balancing, like, grinding for a little bit and then, like, taking a break, or, like, I don't know, but we are really different in that way.
Yeah, I mean, well, another thing that I didn't even think about in this podcast, our voices sound almost exactly the same, so that might be a little weird for people listening to this podcast.
Especially if you're not listening to it as, like, with the video.
Yeah.
You're not seeing us.
Also,
me, Dove, and Eden all sound really similar. Like, when we're talking, like, with each other, or, like, when we're right next to each other, you can't really tell. But if you don't see our faces, like, I feel like we have kind of, like, the same undertones, because I've tricked people, like, a lot by making them think that I'm, like, Eden or Dove. It's harder as we get older, because I think our voices get a little bit different, the older you get. But I think, I don't know, what is it in our voices that sound like the same? I feel like our voices are...
I don't know enough about voices to know what makes them different.
Do you feel like our voices are a little bit, like, deeper?
I mean, I think your voice sounds deeper in your head than it does to other people.
I don't know.
But anyways, this is really off topic. I do get burnt out a lot, and it's been really frustrating, because I feel like I used to not get burnt out at all, but I also think I used to do a lot of, like, busy work and stuff that actually wasn't productive. But anyways, so I don't really know. I don't know if I would say that I'm more productive than you. I do a lot of stuff in the day, but it's like...
Well, because, like, first of all, being productive is, like, subjective for literally every single person. Like, you could take two different people, and one of them could be like, your life is literally, like, my nightmare, and then, vice versa. Mm-hmm. Also, I also think that, like, I mean, you're really good at, like, like, grinding and, like, doing stuff. Like, I think you're really good, like, memorizing stuff, and I think you're really smart academically. I do think, like...
Really?
Yeah. I think one of my strong points is, like, just doing what I like in the moment, which I do think a lot of people struggle with too. Like, just doing what you love doing. Where, like, I find it really hard to, like, ignore, like, my like, what is it called?
Instant gratification.
Yeah, instant gratification. Like, if I am not enjoying something within, like, 5 minutes of starting it, then, like, it's done. Like, I'm not gonna try and, like, which is also really frustrating, because I feel like this world isn't really built for, like, doing, like, exactly what you love. Like, people aren't very accepting of people who just, like, I don't know, do what they want.
Yeah.
But like,
it's like all about denying.
I mean, yeah, it's all about like
something. I don't know.
Well, I mean, but some jobs, like some things that people like, are more like socially accepted. So that would be nice to like find something that I like that like people are like, oh wow, like that's like makes a lot of money and that's like cool. But a lot of people, I think, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really know where I'm going with that.
Yeah, I feel like I had a question, but I forget it. Let me think. Let me look at my questions. One of the things that's been on my mind recently is like when people say, I feel like this comes into play in friendships a lot. When you have a friend and you start to care about them, you're like, oh, I like this person in my life. Like, I want the best for them. And then, I mean, I don't know if I've had like aspects of this happen to me, but not the full like cliche story where like that person, something happens to that person starts dating someone. That's usually what it is, because I feel like romance can be very like a huge obsession for people. But and then there's that phrase like, oh, he's not good for you, or like she's not good for you, or whatever, you know, like that, like,
or like you're too good for them.
Yeah, that's more.
I don't like that phrase that like it's like you're too good for them. I mean, I think in some cases it could be like kind of like obvious if like a person is just kind of like an asshole and then another person is just like, I don't know, you know what I mean? But like in most cases, like I think you're like incredibly biased towards like whoever you're friends with, or it's not like one person usually is like better than the other. I just think that like some people just, I don't know.
I do think some people bring out the best in other people, and some people bring out more.
Well, yeah, some people like
more
compliment each other
aspects of another person
more than others.
Yeah,
but
it is really hard to see like a friend go through that change.
Yeah.
That's happened to me on like a really personal level.
Like what change specifically?
Like, I don't know. I almost feel like it's the type of thing where like, imagine like the thing like when you're younger you like make fun of that, like, oh, like so and so like kiss someone, you're like, ew, gross, like I would never do that.
Yeah.
And then you get older. That's like a very surface level example. Anyways, and then, but more likely, it's like, I feel like that does kind of force people apart. It's weird, but it's like, you only have so much energy in your life. So this comes into like friendship. So, but I forget this a lot. So let's say I have 10 friends. And some of them are like, I have like 3 of them are really close, you know, 5 of them are like kind of close. I talk to them like every month, maybe every few weeks. And then the last 2 are like more acquaintances that I play games with on game night or something random like that. Or we're just like, oh, how are you? I'm good, you know. And then if you get a new friend or a new person comes into your life, whether like it doesn't have to be romantic, it could be platonic, although I've seen it more in romantic relations, where then like all of a sudden like you do have like a limited amount of energy, I think. So you kind of, whether the choice is conscious or not, you end up making a choice to be there less for certain people in your life, to be there more for these new people or these people that you got reacquainted with. It doesn't really matter.
Well, yeah, I also think it makes sense. Like, when
I really hate that about being human. That you have, like, limited energy that you can spend, that you have to be, like, choosy who you spend your time with. I mean, you don't really, although, like, I don't like the effects of not being careful about, it's just, like, it kind of sucks if you think about it, because when you're a kid, that's not something that I wasn't like, man, I have 12 hours in a day, so I can spend 2 with you and 2 with this other person, and then 1 talking on the phone while I'm also cleaning my room because I need to do that, and then I need to spend the rest of all these exercising, working, and walking my dog. Like, nobody, like, and then when you're just like, oh yeah,
That's
my mom invited.
Kind of interesting that, I mean, it kind of makes sense, because I don't really feel like I really deal with life that way. I think I kind of just, like, wake up and I'm like, what do I feel like doing today? And then, like, and sometimes that kind of backfires, because it is hard, like, when you go to bed at the end of the day, or when I go to bed at the end of the day, and I'm like, and I, like, kind of, like, didn't do what I, like, wish I did today. But whereas I feel like you kind of feel like this pressure by yourself, but because, like, the way you're describing it is like,
there is no time.
Never I mean, I don't really feel like, maybe every once in a while I feel like that, but on a daily basis I'm kind of just like,
yeah, I might need to get that checked
I also
out.
think that, like, with, like, if you feel like you are, like, there's too many people in your life or too many friends, it's important to, like, categorize, like, certain people.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of sucks if, like, someone feels hurt by, like, you not giving them enough attention or whatever. But it's also, like, important to know that's, like, not really, like, your responsibility. Also, they, like, I don't know. Anyways, my point was, if you have, like, a lot of people in your life, like, friends, to categorize them into, like, certain subjects that, like, you relate to with them, because I think a lot of people, like, make the mistake of, like, picking certain friends to, like, do everything with, and then, like, they're like, why am I not, like, having as much fun with you anymore? It's because, like, you're, like, trying to do everything with one person that you don't even, like, that they might not enjoy, or you really enjoy, or maybe they really enjoy and you don't. So, like, I don't know, to have, like, certain people for, like, certain things. Like, this person, I really like talking about, like, books with them. Mm-hmm. So, like, if I value, like, books, then to, like, schedule, like, 2 hours a week with them, and then so on, which whatever people you have in your life. Otherwise, like, if you have, like, a friendship where you don't do that, you're just gonna have, like, this, like, resentment, usually on both sides. But I don't know. I've also noticed that, like, when I don't know, I feel like I've experienced the other side, where I've been friends with people who, like, have a lot going on in their life, and I felt really hurt when, like, they don't reach out to me, or in certain circumstances I don't really feel, like, very, like,
get closer to the microphone.
Where in certain circumstances I don't really feel very heard, or, like, I'd like to spend more time. And so but I think in most of those cases I've just been, like, I hold a lot of resentment, but I don't say anything, and I think that it's just gonna, like, that's it. But I think it's your responsibility, if you feel that way about someone, or you want to spend more time with someone, it's your responsibility to, like, say it out loud and express, like, how you feel and what you want. And it's not your responsibility, like, how they take that. Yeah. But you can, like, observe how they take that, and then decide if, like, you want to keep on hanging out with that person, or if that's, like, but, like, you can't, like, unless you let someone know how you feel, they're not gonna know. I think a lot of people like just assume, like very few people are actually that socially aware where they're actually thinking about every single person and like how they think they feel like when you said this or when you didn't do this.
If you think about, okay, I spend a lot of time thinking about like how this other person is perceiving me, they're probably doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So like there's a limited space where you might be thinking about like, oh, that person did this, that really hurt me.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
okay, hold on. We have 10 more minutes to talk, so I'm just letting you know.
Okay.
But continue.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard because, like, I think I'm a pretty socially aware person, and I feel like when I hang out with people, I put a lot of energy, at least from, like, what I think and know about myself. I put a lot of energy into, like, making sure people feel, like, comfortable and, like, and I also just really value, like, connection with people. And so it's frustrating when, like, I meet a person who, like, thinks about other things and, like, doesn't, because it's, like, it doesn't make sense to me. And I think that's could be the same with, like, them, too.
I usually just I get pretty jealous when there's, like, someone, like, I'm like, oh, man, I wish I wasn't thinking about like, it's, like, it sounds a little selfish, but, like, sometimes I'm like, wow, I spend a lot of energy thinking about, like, is this person okay, or is this, like, is this okay, like worrying about a lot of things, and it makes me like wish like, oh, I wish I didn't
care.
Yeah, and like I kind of envy
I've been
that
really
person doesn't
care. I know some people were like they talk to like so many people a week or a day, and like but like the way they do it, like it's just like I don't know, it's like it's really people like that really fascinate me because like in one sense, I wish I could be like that, but in another sense, like, I've been really hurt by that type of attitude, and, like, it's also, like, it's not the way that I
want to treat people.
Yeah, or it's just not the way that I was made, but I don't think sometimes there's people that are like that, and they, like, it's fine, because they don't treat people with, like, disrespectfully, but they just don't, like, invest a whole lot of energy into like every single relationship, which I think is
or
fine
aren't
too.
Super intentional.
Yeah. But a lot of times when you have someone like that, they can be like super intentional in other places in their life too. It's just like So I think like hopefully I'll find like a good balance where I'm like I don't know, like I still want to be intentional and like be thinking about what like when I'm hanging out with a person or not, like what they are feeling and how I can make them feel comfortable, but at the same time like not to like overthink,
right,
and like still enjoy myself and not, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a hard balance to find of like being aware of what's going on around you, but also like being present enough in yourself to be like, oh, do I like this?
Yeah.
No, yes, then I'm gonna do this. It's just like it's a constant struggle for me, to be honest. Okay. Any last words or closing? I feel like this podcast was all over the place, but we also like talked about everything that I kind of wanted to talk about, so that's kind of nice.
What I have like a question for you, I guess. For me, something that I value like in you is like I feel like you put yourself in situations, or you ask a lot of people like to meet up. You put yourself in situations where like you can make a lot of friends, which I really admire. Like, I mean, I've seen you like ask like tons of people to like go out to coffee, something that like I mean I do value, but I feel kind of like intimidated by just asking someone. And I would like to know like, because it's been like in the last like 2 years, I feel like, or year. So is there like anything, like do you know how you got to that point? Is there like a reason why you do that a lot, or like?
I mean, it's kind of like a bigger like topic to address than we have enough time for, but I'll try my best in the final 4 minutes. I guess why I would say that like I've noticed that conversations with other people have a pretty big impact on me, growth-wise. They just give me a lot of exposure to perspectives I wouldn't have previously considered, and then just like someone who's actually experienced something. It's not like I'm Googling, oh, like, what is it like to get hit by a car? You know, like, it's like, oh, this person is telling me this story, and I'm like, wow, that really sucks. And I can, like, I'm sitting across the table from them, and I just really like the coffee date idea. I think it's fun. I think I also kind of realized in the last 2 years, like, how powerful relationships are, and then also how powerful putting yourself out there
and making connections.
Yeah, and like putting yourself in situations where those connections are even possible, whether you want them or not. But just like because a lot of times I'll meet with someone, I'll be like, wow, that was kind of weird. I never want to meet with that person again, and kind of like, or I'll meet with them once or twice and be like, yeah, this is cool, but like you're more like the acquaintance type friend for me, not the type of friend that I'm gonna consistently reach out to. And I don't know. Yeah, I think I actually didn't really think that I did that, but then I kind of, when you said that, I was like, oh yeah, I have. Well, I mean, a lot of people for coffee.
You're like dating someone right now that like you like walked up to in a library and like asked to like play a game with you, which is something that would be, I think, to most people pretty intimidating. And then I've also seen you like ask a lot of like friends of friends who are like old and young to like talk to you and like get their number and go out to coffee once or twice, which is pretty inspiring to me, and it's something that I would like to get better at, because I don't know, I just feel like if you want something, you should at least try.
Yeah.
Because like the worst, I mean, it's just like, it's weird to think about it, but like the worst thing that can happen is like they say like no, and but then it's like, so what?
That's not even like a bad thing.
Yeah, but it's not even that bad. It's just like,
and I've never,
I guess it wasn't meant to be. No one has ever
said no to a coffee date specifically. People have told me no to playing this game We're Not Really Strangers like twice.
Oh yeah, people like, it's kind of like, some people are actually kind of like jerks.
Like, yeah,
but
I don't know why,
it's like, at least like you've tried, and then now you know not to go up to those specific people, and then it's like,
but there's billions of other people out there.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest reason why I have gone up to people and probably will continue to go up to people is when I hear about someone and they're like, oh, so-and-so works at this theater. And I'm like, wow, theater sounds really interesting. And then I'll get interested in, like, this is what has happened in the past. I'll be interested in theater. So then I'll be like, you know, I want to go meet with this person and talk to them about theater. And then it kind of evolves into a weird friendship. Not weird, but just not one that I expected. And people I know that I'll never be an expert in everything, but I'd like to think that somewhere along the line I'll like have a good amount of knowledge on several different things that interest me. And one of the ways that I'm hoping that'll be possible will be through meeting people and just hearing them talk about the things that they care about that I also like might happen to have an interest in.
Yeah. So I think connections are just like really powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, sorry this podcast was a bit all over the place. Thank you, Memory, for coming. I had a lot of technical difficulties at the beginning, and Memory was being really patient even when I was cussing at my computer. So,
thanks for inviting me. I enjoyed talking with you.
Yeah, thanks for coming, thanks for talking, and thanks everybody for listening and or watching today's podcast episode. 7 should be back for the next one, which I'm kind of glad about because, well, it's actually honestly doesn't matter because now I know how to do all this, so yeah. But anyways, thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.